In a world where magic exists, this ugly, useless guy was unlucky to be a normal one. However, when a lightning bolt accidentally struck him, the goddess blessed him with a talent that could hatch even the strongest monster. Before I spoil too much of the fun, let's start the story. Our MC watched as a huge egg began to crack before him, a chicken with a fiery comb coming out from inside. This is his skill, hatch. Now, how about we backtrack a little bit and I do my job of explaining what's happening? When our MC, Klaus, opened his eyes, he was surprised to find himself in a strange place with floating castles and the goddess Muse standing before him. Confused, he asked her why he was in such a place. Seeing that he doesn't remember what happened, the goddess Muse explained that he was now standing on the brink of death after being struck by lightning. No, struck isn't quite accurate. The reason he's dying right now is because of her. According to the goddess, the gods work to maintain the balance of the world, performing various adjustments on a daily basis. Recently, monsters in the demon lands have become more active, so she decided to grant power to the most talented royals and nobles. But she accidentally gave power to an ordinary man with no talent. As a result, his body couldn't withstand the divine power, and now he's in critical condition. But the good news is he's not going to die. She didn't want to accidentally kill someone either, so she's already repaired his broken vessel with her power. In fact, she even made it bigger. That means he's fine now. However, it will take time for him to regain his strength. And if possible, she'd like him to use that power for the sake of the world. Klaus happily agreed, which the goddess was thankful for. As he slowly began to lose consciousness and drift back to reality, the goddess told him that he will have a skill when he awakens. She was about to tell him how to use it when Klaus jolted awake after his sister called out his name, hugging him tightly. His sister, Syria, cried in relief after seeing her brother open his eyes. She was afraid he'd never wake up. Klaus turned to his side when he felt a pat on his shoulder. It was his father, along with his mother at the back. They were really worried about him. He was struck by lightning and unconscious for a week. They thought it was over when his heart stopped. At the mention of lightning, Klaus remembered what had happened and quickly grabbed Syria's shoulders to ask if she was okay. Syria wiped her tears with a smile. He protected her that day, so she didn't even get burned. Klaus was relieved to hear that, but maybe she could let go of him now? She's being real clingy. Syria just giggled. Her strength gave out once she relaxed. Well, can they blame her? She's been worried sick about him, so his mother suggested that he let her sleep with him tonight. Klaus wanted to refuse, but seeing Syria's teary face made him sigh and agree. But it's just for tonight. The next day, Klaus woke up feeling hot and hard to breathe. I mean, if someone's clinging to you like that all night, that ought to happen. Anyway, he was able to escape her hold and remember how the goddess Muse mentioned something about a skill. He opened his status window and realized that he now had the skill, Hatch, the power he received from the goddess Muse. He should try it out right away. Klaus excitedly ran out of the house to the chicken farm. Judging by the name Hatch, it must have to do with eggs. If he can get his hands on an egg, he can test the skill. Once he was able to take an egg from the farm, he hid behind a building to try out his skill. He's actually kinda nervous. He heard that once a skill manifests, its usage naturally comes to mind if you focus. So he just needs to concentrate. Syria mentioned that too. Klaus closed his eyes and used his skill, but his eyes snapped open in confusion when he felt like something's being drained out of him. What in the world was happening? No, that's not important. The egg's cracking. Just a bit more. It's almost there, and done. The egg finally hatched, a chick coming out from inside. Yes, the skill works. It works, but just 2 chicks from this much effort. Yeah, it's not worth it. It was already nighttime when he came home. He didn't think using a skill would exhaust him that much. More importantly, could Syria be mad at him? He thinks she's angry. Klaus was about to open the door when he heard his father's voice coming from the window, asking Syria if she was sure she was fine with her decision since she was so excited to study at the Royal Capital's Academy. Klaus wondered what they were talking about, but his question was answered almost instantly when Syria stubbornly insisted that she's staying here. Klaus's father protested. She's his late sister's only daughter, so it's his duty to take care of her until she's grown. On top of that, she has the magic skill. But Syria cut him off, asking him to stop. They borrowed money to buy medicine for Klaus's recovery, and the academy in the capital has a hefty enrollment fee too. She just doesn't want to be a burden on the family. Klaus, who was eavesdropping, didn't know that to heal him after the lightning strike, his family had gone through so much hardship. They didn't show it at all. He's such a lucky guy. His mother washes clothes and cooks every day. His father teaches him swordsmanship even after tiring work, and his sister is always there by his side, looking after him. The academy in the capital is Syria's dream. He has to make it happen. He's decided, but he can't earn enough for tuition with a regular job. So, he went to their storage and rummaged for an old gear. To earn a large sum quickly, he must become an adventurer. As an adventurer, he can earn big depending on his results. His dad used to be an adventurer too, apparently. It's lucky they still have his old gear at home. Though, it's kind of big. Anyway, after filling out the form needed to register as an adventurer, he handed it back to the receptionist. He put his class as swordsman since he's been trained in swordsmanship since he was a kid, and judging by his stats, swordsman suits him best. However, since he's a solo adventurer, he'll mostly be limited to ongoing quests like goblin hunts or herb collection. Still, class thought it was fine, so the receptionist then explained the guild system to him. First, the Adventurers Guild divides adventurers into 8 ranks. These ranks correspond to the letters shown in his status. For example, if his status is E, that means his adventurer rank is E, basically, his E rank right now. His rank determines what quests he can take, but even the ongoing ones will do for now. And if he completes a lot of quests, his earnings will add up. In that case, he'll get started right away. He'll do it. He'll make money as an adventurer. A few hours later, Klaus came back to the guild after completing his quest and only earned 2 coins. After he excitedly ran off earlier, he went to the forest on the edge of the village. Full of energy, he began exploring, but he never ran into a single goblin. All he managed to find was 1 herb leaf. He sighed, this doesn't pay better than a regular day job at all. Just then, a man wrapped an arm around his shoulder and asked how it's going for him. But when he saw the single herb leaf on the counter, he burst out laughing. The receptionist had to stop him from teasing the newbies. The man apologized, albeit still laughing, before turning to everyone and announcing that their party took down an orc all by themselves so they can drink all they want. It's on him. Meanwhile, the receptionist whispered to Klaus that that man was a veteran around here, so he shouldn't let it get to him. Later that night, when Klaus got home, he stayed up hatching more chicken eggs since it'd be a waste not to use the skill he was given. It's not great for combat, but if he keeps hatching eggs, he can at least save on food costs. He slapped his cheeks to get a hold of himself when he began to think negative thoughts. It's fine, he's making progress. He mustn't lose heart. He can't show weakness for serious sake. Starting the next day, Klaus headed into the forest daily to collect herbs. At first, finding even 1 per day was tough, but after a week, he got the hang of it and could gather several at a time. On the way home, he'd stop by the farm for eggs and hatch them before bed. He got more accustomed to it with each repetition, and the exhaustion began to fade gradually. At this rate, he might actually earn a decent sum soon. He was once again exploring the forest to find herbs when he got jump-scared by a magic worm with a pacifier. It seems to eat herbs, so that's why herbs have been scarce around here. It's even laying eggs. Wait, come to think of it, he heard that threads from magic worms carry magical energy and are used as materials for high-end clothing. If he can hatch one, maybe he could make a fortune. Thanks to the repeated use of his skill, he can now hatch 2 to 3 chicken eggs at once. But how about a magic worm's egg? This is the perfect chance to test it. That night, he went home with the magic worm's egg and tried to hatch it before bed. He hasn't felt this strain in a while. It was harder to hatch than the chicken egg. But he can tell, it's working. Just a bit more. A bright light blinded him and a magic worm came out of the egg, immediately crawling over to an herb and munching on it. Klaus petted its head with a smile. Guess he'll raise this one for a while and see how it goes. Still, his skill, hatch, the goddess muse gave it to him, but he wonders how she wants him to use it. Right, she did ask him to use it for the sake of the world if possible, didn't she? If only he had the strength to take down an orc by himself. Noticing his dilemma, the magic worm tapped on his hand to cheer him up, putting a smile on Klaus's face. All right, he decided. From now on, its name is Purple. A bright light came out of Purple and 2 notifications popped up, saying a tamer contract has been established and that he has acquired magic increase, small. Klaus stood up clutching his head in confusion. What was that voice just now? It felt like it echoed directly inside his head. He glanced at his status window and was shocked to see a new skill added, the magic increase, small. He couldn't believe it. His status just rewrote itself. Was it because of his skill, hatch? Never mind that, there's something going on with his body. 2 weeks since naming Purple, Klaus is still continuing his life as an adventurer. He's currently fighting goblins and just finished the subjugation. All right, that completes the request. 3 silver coins earned. Purple did great again today. 2 weeks have passed since then. The mysterious hatch skill, Klaus has started to understand a bit about it. First, the taming contract. Literally, it's an ability to subdue and command monsters. When he hatched a chick, nothing happened. So he figured that to tame a creature, it must first be a monster, and he needs to give this hatched monster a name. These seem to be the key requirements. And one more thing, after naming it, he can faintly sense Purple's emotions. Apparently, magic worms can sense where herbs grow, so lately it's been leading him to them diligently. On top of that, his magic power has increased. It must be thanks to this small magic boost. Come to think of it, using hatch doesn't exhaust him as much anymore. So maybe this is one of the perks to having the small magic boost. Maybe when he tames a hatched monster, part of its power gets granted to him. Useless status not explaining a thing to the MC. Anyway, they've got quite a haul today thanks to to purple. After returning to the guild to submit the completion of his quests, he was rewarded with a bowl of coins. The receptionist commended him for doing amazing. It's only been a month since he became an adventurer, and he's already gathering this many herbs. Even veteran adventurers rarely achieve this. But Klaus thought he still had a long way to go. And honestly, it's all thanks to purple. As they were talking, the veteran from before passed by and was shocked to see the pile of coins Klaus got as a reward. The receptionist noticed him and smirked smugly, reminding him not to mock Klaus just because he's a rookie. Klaus, on the other hand, just took the reward. With this much, he might be able to send Syria to the academy. Once he got home, he gathered everyone at the dinner table and placed the pouch of coins down. He wants them to use this money to send Syria to study in the royal capital. His father scoffed. So this is what he's been sneaking around doing every day. To think he became an adventurer just to earn money. Klaus was surprised he noticed, but continued on, saying there was no other way. His father isn't blaming him. After all, he wants Syria to study abroad too. Of course, he'll allow her to go. But he had to ask, does he intend to continue being an adventurer? Honestly, when Klaus first started, he was so focused on earning money for Syria's tuition that all he thought was he had to help his sister. But after using Hatch's skill and learning its true potential, that feeling started to change little by little. He feels like there's a hidden power within it that he still didn't know. If he can uncover that by continuing as an adventurer, then he should continue. He'll keep being an adventurer and discover his own worth. His father's eyes widened in surprise before letting out a scoff. Look at that face, his son actually seems excited. Then, he should start preparing to go to the royal capital as well. If he intends to keep being an adventurer, there's a condition. He has to go with Syria to the royal capital and earn the title of national adventurer. Right now, the siblings have left their hometown and are on the road to the royal capital. It all started a month ago. As a condition for Klaus continuing his work as an adventurer, his father gave him one task. It's to obtain the national adventurer qualification. The National Adventure exam is held at the Adventurers Guild in the royal capital, so he decided to accompany Syria on her study trip there. Among the countless adventurers, only a select few earn the title, a title that symbolizes both wisdom and skill, the dream of all adventurers, National Adventurer. This challenge from his father is probably his own way of showing kindness. That night, his father was amazed that he earned that much money in such a short time. He clearly has potential, but there are plenty who rely only on talent and never make it. And there's no guarantee he'll keep earning like this forever. That's why he gave him 1 year. If Klaus can obtain the qualification within that time, he'll allow him to continue being an adventurer. For now, he encouraged Klaus to show him his strength. Back to the present, Klaus smirked as he remembered that conversation with his father. Being an adventurer is indeed a dangerous work, but if he really has what it takes, he should be able to survive. That's what he meant. The coachman noticed he seemed to be in a good mood and asked if he's heading to take the exam too, since he looked like an adventurer himself. Klaus answered affirmatively, though he's still a novice adventurer. His father's been teaching him swordsmanship all this time, but he never once managed to beat him. 1 year, that's all he's got. He can't afford to waste a single moment, even while traveling. To gain combat experience, he plans to join in the battle himself if monsters attack. Well, he got exactly what he wished for. The adventurers outside the carriage began to panic as the surrounding became noisier. This doesn't look good, something's happening. A loud roar rang throughout the area. Klaus quickly looked around to find the source of the sound and found adventurers running towards 2 giant monsters. It's a monster attack. Klaus ran off the carriage and towards the fight, leaving Syria, who just woke up. They were ambushed. That monster, it's a troll. It's huge and its club attacks are deadly, so they have to stay alert while fighting. The leader of the party asked Klaus what he thought and whether he wanted to sit this one out. Of course not, he wants to fight. In that case, the leader urged him to come along and they'll take down that one, while the others fight the other. He'll take the troll's right flank, and Klaus will draw its attention from the left. Klaus agreed, immediately taking out his sword and running to the troll's left side. However, before he could do anything, the troll turned towards him and swung its club. He was barely able to block it with his sword. This is unbelievable. The moment it saw an opening, it attacked instantly. Despite that bulky look, it moves fast. And this pressure, it's nothing like fighting goblins. It's completely different. If he drops his guard for even a second, he'll be the one getting hunted. So this is a troll. While traveling, he heard from Syria that trolls are classified as C-rank monsters. When fighting them, he shouldn't be deceived by their sluggish appearance. It's said that the massive clubs swung by their powerful arms can easily shatter even a knight's sturdy shield. Even one hit would be dangerous. If he underestimates them, he won't live to regret it. Klaus stood behind as the party leader fought the troll. In a troll battle, the main threat is its club strikes. One clean hit, and he's done for. But there's still a way. When it attacks, its unarmed left side is full of openings. Klaus took that chance to sneak up on the troll and attack its left side with his sword. The troll let out a pained roar, while the party leader praised his good instincts. That gave him the confidence that he can do this. However, the moment he relaxed, the troll's club came swinging at him. He was able to dodge it at the last second, causing it to hit the tree behind him, but that was a really close call. He let his guard down. That attack, if it had hit directly, he'd be dead. He looked up as the troll jumped up to attack him, remembering his father's words during their training. His father taught him to never take an attack head-on against large monsters. He should deflect, redirect, and burn this into his body. Remembering his father's teaching helped Klaus focus. He dashed forward and attacked the troll's right arm that was swinging towards him. Then, without giving it a second to rest, he rushed back and cut its side. The party leader commended him for a job well done and told him to get some rest. He can leave the rest to him. Klaus panted, looking down on his trembling hand before clenching it tightly. This is his limit for now. He wonders how much training it will take to defeat one of those alone. And so, despite a few incidents along the way, their journey went smoothly and they finally reached their destination safely, the royal capital, Belladonna. Once the party dropped them off, their job ended there. But in the case that Klaus fails the exam, he is welcome to join their party. Klaus laughed awkwardly, shaking the party leader's hand as he answered that he'll think about it. Along the road they were attacked by monsters many times, and each time Klaus was allowed to fight. It seems they took quite a liking to him, though really, he just followed orders. After the party left, Syria called for her brother's attention. From now on, she's going to the school where she's going to enter, and he's going to go to the Adventurers Guild. She knows he's busy, but she hopes they can see each other again at least once a week. Klaus patted her head. He can't promise for sure, but if things ever got tough, she can call him and he'll come running. The two bid each other goodbye and finally went their separate ways. Klaus looked around, trying to find the way to the Adventurers Guild, but this place is huge. He's lost. Which way was it? He wandered around in panic, when someone suddenly called out to him. It's a cat woman, asking if he's alright since he seemed to be a bit lost. They walked around the capital, with the cat woman, Carol, eating a skewer. Klaus is thankful that she showed her around since it's his first time in the royal capital. Carol assured him it was fine since she's got business at the Adventurers Guild too. Klaus wasn't even listening and was just staring at her ears. They're actually kinda soothing. Suddenly, he lifted her chin and wiped her mouth with a cloth after noticing the skewer sauce smudged all over her lips. But then, he realized what he just did and backed away, apologizing. It was a habit. Syria used to do that to him all the time. He's really sorry. Carol stared at him before asking if he's an adventurer. After confirming that he was, she asked what kind of requests he had taken so far. Klaus mostly did herb gathering jobs. As for combat experience, he can at least handle goblins on his own. However, in the royal capital, herb gathering quests are almost non-existent because they have full cultivation facilities. Guess he can't rely on herbs forever anyway. Carol had her head down as she informed him that lots of adventurers come to the capital chasing dreams of glory, but most end up leaving broke. So he mustn't overreach himself. But the thing is, Klaus actually came here to take the National Adventurer exam. He just arrived from the countryside. What a coincidence. Carol actually knew a little about it. Well, kind of. She doesn't know why he's aiming for it, but it's not an easy goal. Only about 1 in 1,000 pass. He'll be up against rivals from across the nation and have to overcome the trials within a limited time. Many push themselves too far and lose their lives trying. That's the kind of exam this is. Anyway, they're here, at the Adventurers Guild. Some adventurers noticed Carol and questioned who Klaus was, making Klaus wonder what was going on. Everyone's looking at Carol differently somehow. He turned back to her at her call, and that's when he noticed the thing on her chest. He remembered Syria telling him about it, that those who earn the National Adventurer qualification receive a special ornament. Glistening in radiant gold, just wearing it earns one admiration and envy alike. It's said to be truly beautiful. I have a feeling he's not talking about the ornament, but anyway, Carol wished him luck and looked forward to working together when he becomes a national adventurer. Klaus was left alone, too stunned to speak. Once he finally got a hold of himself and entered, he went straight to the receptionist to apply for the National Adventure exam, and she explained the examination process. The National Adventure exam consists of 3 main parts: preliminary and secondary prerequisite tests, and the main exam, the escort mission. He'll have to clear the tests in order and finally proceed to the main exam. Class will begin with the first test. The task for the first test is to slay a C rank or higher monster. Since national adventurers need a minimum level of strength, this test will serve to measure that. A C rank is the same level as that troll. A tough opponent, but Klaus might be able to manage now. He snapped out of his thoughts when the receptionist handed him a card. It's a magical device carried by national adventurers. It automatically records monster kills. Once it registers the defeat of a C-rank monster, he can submit it to proceed to the second test. He'll have a 3-month period to complete the trial. If he fails to complete it in time, he'll have to start over, so he should be aware. Klaus took the card and thanked her before walking out of the guild. All right, he'll give it a shot. But before that, there's somewhere he needs to visit first. Tamer Guild, a gathering of those who can bond with monsters, forming an organization. They handle monster management and ecological research. It's an organization for tamers. Klaus entered the guild, hoping to register his tamed monster. The staff, a black-haired girl with glasses, welcomed him inside. Now to register Purple, he urged it to come out and apologized for not being able to let it out much lately. The staff stared at it, amazed by the rareness. That made Klaus wonder if magic worms are not often tamed. That's right. Most people would prefer powerful or practical monsters, after all. Though personally, she thinks this little one is very cute. Understanding, Klaus looked around, his eyes landing on the framed image of a dragon by the wall as he asked what the largest one was among the currently tamed monsters. Still petting Purple, the staff answered that would be a dragon. Klaus turned to her in shock. Did she mean that one by the wall? That's right, dragons are incredible. Not only are they massive in size, but their noble and valiant fighting style is truly exceptional. On top of that, they possess the intelligence to understand human speech. The person who tamed a dragon happened to be present when its egg hatched, and that in itself was, oh wait, she's rambling too much. She calmed herself and handed him a document, explaining the guild's regulations. There are 3 points he must observe. First, tamers must guarantee that their familiars are safe beings who pose no harm to people. Second, tamers must not use their beasts for criminal activity. Third, tamers must create and submit reports about their familiars' ecology. A report? Huh? Klaus can write that here now. The staff agreed, and also, she had a request. The next day, Klaus went out to battle a D-rank orc. Yesterday, after writing the report, the staff member asked if they could review his report. He agreed, and decided to leave Purple in the guild's care for a while. Since he's in the middle of the first exam right now, their request actually worked out perfectly. Now then, should he see how far he can go alone? The orc jumped up, swinging its axe. Klaus stayed rooted to his spot and confidently swung his sword to cut off its arms. However, it was too shallow. As expected of a D-rank monster, its toughness is on another level. During the journey, the warrior escorting them once crushed an orc's skull with a single heavy blow. He still doesn't have that kind of strength, but being alone doesn't change what he has to do. He hit the orc with every opportunity and blocked calmly when needed. He mustn't rush. Battle is about wearing down the enemy's strength. As long as he's the one still standing at the end, that's all that matters. Plot twist, the orc is the last one standing. Just kidding. We all knew Klaus would win with the power of plot armor. Either way, he did it. He took it down without taking a single hit. Not bad for his first solo fight. He checked his status and noticed that his strength, endurance, and agility are now all D. That means he's currently a D-rank adventurer. To defeat a C-rank monster, it'd be most efficient to go after a troll, given his current combat experience. Still, there's a lot to work on. For now, he'll focus on gaining experience and begin searching for trolls. It's been 2 weeks since Klaus started living in the royal capital. Thanks to hunting monsters every day, he can now fight D-rank ones without getting nervous anymore. But right now, he's got a big problem. There are no trolls around. He's been searching for a C-rank monster to pass the first exam, but he couldn't find any. It's so bad, he had to consult the Adventurers Guild's receptionist. If that's the case, the receptionist suggested that he try slaying another C-rank monster. Around here, there are dire wolves, or poison toads. If he goes a bit farther to the mines, he could even find golems. Klaus thought about it. Poison sounds a bit risky, so maybe dire wolves nearby would be safest. If he's working solo, the receptionist agreed that was probably the best choice. Normally, acting in a party would be ideal, but that would mean being bound to a group and unable to move at his own pace. Besides, he also has the power granted by the goddess Muse. He kind of suspected it, but thanks to that power, he's been growing unusually fast. What takes a normal adventurer a year, he feels like he can do in a month. With growth this rapid, if he joined a party, they'd definitely get suspicious. Then, he decided, he'll go with the dire wolf. Also, he'd like to inquire for any good requests available nearby. The receptionist checked and found 2. One is a Cocytus subjugation request. The Cocytus can turn whoever it touches to stone, a monster that uses petrifying attacks. It's even more troublesome than the poison toad's venom. Without proper countermeasures, encountering one means certain death. For reference, it's ranked B. The other request is for collecting dire wolf pelts. After that, Klaus set off to the nearby forest for both his task and the request. He's come pretty far in, and if the info's right, there should be dire wolves in this forest. However, he doesn't see any. It's been 4 days since he entered this forest already, and sleeping in the wild really wears on one's nerves. He doubts he'd go this long without finding either a troll or a dire wolf. As if on cue, he found a dire wolf feasting on a small monster. Klaus watched from behind the bushes, thinking he might be able to ambush it from behind. The dire wolf flinched and began looking around, causing Klaus to suddenly hide behind a tree. It doesn't seem to have noticed him yet, but that won't last long. All right, he'll strike first. He unsheathed his sword and was about to attack, when the wolf suddenly jumped towards his direction. Klaus dodged to the side and attempted to strike it with his sword, but was stopped by the wolf's claws. It's fast. And that power, what strength. Klaus had no choice but to dash back and put some distance between them. From that exchange, he can tell, a head-on fight won't work. It's got him beat in both power and speed. But still, Yol didn't think he'd challenge a strong foe without any preparation. Did Yol? He reached for the pouch inside his bag and threw it up in the sky. Now the real fight begins. Inside that bag, it's packed with finely ground spices. Good thing he got that tip from the Tamers Guild. Apparently, a dire wolf's sense of smell is extremely sensitive. Hit it with a strong irritant, and it becomes so weakened it can barely move. It's super effective. He really owes that guild clerk for the info. Alright, now's his chance. He raised his sword and was about to hit the wolf, when it suddenly rushed forward and pushed him back. He can't believe it can still move at that state. No, it can do much more. The wolf let out a loud roar and suddenly, magic manifested all around them, destroying everything in its way. Klaus put up his sword to try and block the impact, and watched in horror as all the trees got cut up after that powerful strike. Even though it's weakened this much, it's still so powerful. If he'd gone in without a plan, he'd be the one lying dead right now. Klaus once again raised his sword and struck the wolf, the monster collapsing on the ground. Phew. That was one tough fight, by far the hardest yet. So this is what C rank feels like. I think he meant, so this is what plot armor feels like. All that magic and bro doesn't have a single cut. Just then, the magic device given to him at the guild buzzed, notifying that he subjugated the C rank monster, Dire Wolf. The receptionist congratulated him after confirming his successful completion of the first exam, and gave him the reward for the pelt delivery request. Next is the second exam, but before that, they'll need to hold onto his magic device for inspection. After checking, they handed it back to him and a screen appeared in front of him at the same time. In the secondary examination, displayed here on the screen are the list of C rank or higher rare items that they'll need to collect. The list updates in real time with requests submitted by nobles and merchants. The same list is also shared with active national adventurers and those qualified to take the second exam. That means the second exam's requests keep changing, and it becomes a competition against other candidates and national adventurers themselves. It'll be harsh, but that's what being a national adventurer is all about. With real rivals out there, it's not enough to just gather items casually. It took Klaus 1 month to defeat a dire wolf. Time's running short, so he'll have to decide carefully which items to go after. Personally, the receptionist would recommend plant-based items. C. Plant-based items, unlike monster drops, depend heavily on luck to find. Most national adventurers prefer to focus on items guaranteed by monster kills rather than gamble on plants. That's why she thinks they're his best bet. In that case, Klaus will go with that. He sat by a bench outside, staring at the list. It's good that he now has a plan for the second exam. There are plenty of plant-type items out there, like mandrake root, world tree leaf, fairy bloom flower, golden rose petal, elf herb, dryad bark, vampire orchid, magic mint, and rune berry. Honestly, the only option is to search every possible spot. Guess he should start in the forest. Klaus stood up, wondering what kind of rare item he'll find. He can't wait to see. Unbeknownst to him, in the deepest parts of the forest lies a giant monster egg. On the day Klaus explored the forest, he took Purple back from the Tamer Guild and brought it along with him. But dang, he's gotten awfully big, hasn't he? He's really grown a lot. Purple was so tiny not long ago, and now he's become so splendid. He's definitely going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Right now, they're in the forest to collect C rank or higher rare items, which is the condition to pass the second exam. There's only 2 months left. Time is limited, so he'd like to gather them quickly. Suddenly, Purple tapped on his shoulder. He seemed to have found something and led Klaus there. It was a patch of herbs. It's pretty big. Klaus has never seen a cluster this size in his home forest. He crouched down and fed Purple some. In the royal capital, plants like these are mostly cultivated, so few adventurers would bother coming all the way out here to gather them. If that's the case, the chance of rare items growing wild here might be high. Suddenly, Purple noticed something and flailed his arms around to warn Klaus, who asked Purple what was wrong since he's never seen him this flustered. Purple grabbed his collar and just dragged him to a deeper area, where a beautiful herb was growing. This was incredible. Klaus plucked one, wondering if this was also an herb. Just looking at it is overwhelming. Just then, the magic device in his pocket buzzed to notify him that he obtained a B-rank item, Crystal Herb. Klaus's eyes widened in shock at the high rank, and immediately checked the request list. However, it's not there. In that case, he'll just feed it to Purple since he seemed to want it. Why not, right? He's the one who found it anyway. Purple excitedly chomped down on it, and Klaus could swear that even Purple looks like he's shining. At that moment, Klaus heard a noise coming from behind them, so he looked up to see what it was and panicked after seeing Paralysis Bees. Paralysis Bee, it's a monster with a powerful stinger that paralyzes whatever it stings, and they have extremely strong kinship within their species. The high-quality honey from their nests is prized as a luxury food, but it's hard to obtain and rarely appears on the market. What a troublesome one. Their attack power is low, but they are monsters that hunt by cornering prey as a swarm. Before they gather up, they should detour around. However, Klaus could not finish his sentence after witnessing Purple dragging one of the bees with his thread and swallowing it whole. Did he just ate a paralysis bee? And now he's sniping the others down too. Wow, it seems he can handle meat too, huh? But they can't stay here any longer, more are coming. And what the hell is up with these numbers? Are they angry because Purple ate one of their kin? If there's this many, there must be a nest nearby. If they don't avoid the nest and run, there'll be pincushions for their poison stingers. Klaus turned to Purple and informed him that they're getting out of the forest because of the enemy's numbers. However, he paused when he noticed Purple trembling, and once he opened his eyes, he suddenly emitted a bright light, causing him to glow. Klaus stood there in confusion, wondering what in the world was happening. Purple is glowing. Something like this has never happened before. Purple jumped off of his shoulder and shot out his threads, destroying the trees in their way until the bee's nest was in full view. It seems Purple has sensed it, but those things look hella furious. Paralysis bee nests sell for a high price, so Klaus wanted to secure it if possible, but they had no choice. They'll have to retreat for now, but there's no way Purple's agreeing to that. He flew up in the air and shot the bees with his threads, harder this time. Dang, he sniped them all. At this rate, they might just make it safely out of the forest. Klaus commended Purple for a job well done and urged him to fall back while they can. But it seems Purple is in his rebellious phase as he's refusing to listen to Klaus. There's no problem though, because he's completely obliterating all these bees, wiping them out, and even got their nest like Klaus wanted. He really is an amazing little guy. Later, Klaus hit the jackpot with all the honey he collected from the bee's nest. He put all the jars in his bag and carried it on his back before walking away. A lot happened, but they got the honey, so he'll call that a win. He apologized for keeping Purple waiting and carried its sleeping form on his shoulder. It seems he got sleepy after filling his belly. By the way, this thread, it's not just Klaus's imagination, it is glowing. It's not shining as strongly as it did back then, but still, could it be because he ate the crystal herb? Or maybe from eating the paralysis bee? He'll have to ask about it at the Tamers Guild when they get back. As he was walking out of the forest, a bright light suddenly caught his attention. He turned towards its direction and found a giant monster egg lying there. Klaus walked closer, wondering why it was out in such an open place. He doesn't know what kind of monster it belongs to, but the chance of an egg being left alone like this is slim. The parents must be nearby. Klaus looked around, and once he made sure the coast was clear, he got closer and lifted the egg to check it. He was wondering what kind of egg it was, when his magic device suddenly buzzed and notified him that he's acquired an S-rank item, Phoenix Egg. Now what should he do about this? Chapters end at 10. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you loved this manga. Have a good day.